Hello, hello, everyone. I am Steven Jackson. Um, Today, I can't avoid this topic because people deserve to hear something that I was too scared to share last year. Um, on April 22nd, 2016, I was with a friend, Buffalo Wild Wings, and um, we were chatting and talking, and I got a call in the middle of all of it that I needed to come home. I came back to my house, um, and there was someone already here ready to watch Rowan overnight. And I was told my brother was gone. There's going to be things that make more sense about the way I am and the way I act. And a lot of you guys found me because I'm not scared to open up. But this is one time where I got scared last year and I didn't. I didn't show you guys something that I wanted to. Because I didn't understand completely myself either last year. I've learned some things. There's going to be like 4 videos coming out that are all going to be vlogs. And it's going to be about my life and what's been going on. They're going to be specifically the first one about what I am. And that might sound weird. I am who I am, but there are things about me that a lot of my life makes sense. A lot of what I've done, why I've done it, when I did it, finally makes sense of why I'm like the way I am. A lot of you found me through like playthroughs of things like The Last of Us, Life is Strange. There are other serious games I've played, and you guys have liked that I've delved into the characters, that I've gone in blind and tried to figure out a feeling for who they are and what they are. And in doing that, I shared a bit of me. When you start sharing yourself, your thoughts, who you are, your life doesn't really belong to you anymore completely. Because as long as it starts touching other people, it's not all yours anymore. Once you start touching anyone, whether they be a friend or an enemy, if you impacted their life, a piece of you just got given away. It's not a piece like you've lost something. It's almost like you made a copy and you handed it over and you said, "Here, this one's for you to hold on to." What they do with it after that, I guess, is on them. You've now started making all of these pieces that you don't have full control over. Your life, they're pieces and copies of parts of your life that all of a sudden other people are impacted and share, and it means something to them, and so they now act a certain way. And like I said, no matter if they're a friend or an enemy, your life isn't your own anymore. And I've learned that more and more being on this channel, that it's not just mine. Too many people send me messages saying that the talks I've given, or opening up and talking during The Last of Us, those are the 2 biggies where people watch that, and apparently I guess it's more rare for people to be in the field of, we're going to play games, but then I don't put on a show. Like, what you see is what you get, which is another confusing part of me. I didn't realize that I was never putting on a show, even during the times where I didn't feel okay. When I could put on a smile and get on here, it makes sense. I felt alone. But I had someone who kept the loneliness in check for a long time. Yeah, 2 years ago, got called back home and Nathan was gone. That was on April 22nd, late at night. And I somehow could flip a switch. I broke down for 5 minutes, and then just the switch that I always thought was my chaos mode, that I could, why I thought I was built for chaos, but I'm not built for chaos. That's not what it is. That same thing I didn't know how to describe, it flipped. And the first idea I had was that I had obligations the next day. I needed to take care of that. And then I went to my parents' house and saw my brother just lying there. The wrinkles he always had in his forehead because he was in pain were gone. It was relaxed. Today is the day that gets declared because it was so late at night. The person I was meeting, the friend I was meeting that I got called back from, I didn't give her a text until 11 p.m. to let her know that that's what happened. It was 11:08, April 22nd, when I told her, Nathan's dead. His time of death wasn't officially called until after the hearse, the last ride. So it was in the early morning hours, so the official time was April 23rd. I need to show you guys what I said, because I've talked about my brother, but sometimes maybe it doesn't land. Sometimes maybe the words I say make it sound like I talk him up or say things. I was in my mode for 1 week straight where I really didn't cry. I cried one more time when I had to say bye to his body. I didn't cry when I got there. I didn't cry when I helped carry him to the hearse. I cried when I saw him propped up on that table at the funeral home. I just wanted to be near my brother one more time. And I knew he was gone, but that was it. I cried because I knew I'm going to leave this room and I will never see my brother's face again. I made sure to bring his glasses because I wanted to see his. I had plans. And you'll hear me even say in this, I mean, it's just the audio. It's what I actually said at his funeral. It was the first time I finally broke down. And you'll hear. The things I say and talk about aren't something that were sporadic. This is in front of family and friends. They could call me out on it. I can't. I was scared because I didn't want to listen to it. I didn't want to have to edit it because I knew that the mic was probably going to drop and the audio levels would fluctuate. I wanted to show you guys. I wanted you to hear the words I had to say. And I couldn't do it. I finally today listened to it. I listened. This one's important. So listen for me. Listen so that you know that when I talk about my brother, I'm not exaggerating. I'm not lying. I was in front of a group of people that wasn't possible. They knew him. You know, the front row is my family. And I definitely couldn't lie because he's in a box. Just sitting there to my right, and I need you guys to understand that later on when I talk, especially when I talk about who I am, when I bring up my brother, you're going to hear that there is something Nathan did And I even brought it up then. And now it finally makes sense what he did for me. I said then that he saved me, and you'll just hear. I do not take back the part where I said I would trade places with him in a heartbeat, because that is not survivor's guilt anymore. He protected me from myself. I am a better person, and I fought something that I have that could have dictated and controlled my life and could have driven me to end it. Sorry to ramble. I don't know how to not ramble. There's too many things. There's too much. You'll hear what I said the real tragedy is if you listen to this. You'll hear it. And I don't take back that I would trade places with him, because he was made to do what I wish I could do. And he could have accomplished it a lot better than I could have. If it weren't for some damn tumor that he didn't deserve. Things can be used for a good reason. Things can be a springboard. But there is just some things that happen, and they're complete shit. They're horrible. And they happen for no reason. What you do with that horrible thing is what gives it purpose. It doesn't mean it happened for a reason. There is no good reason my brother shouldn't be here in front of the camera with me. There's no good reason I should be having to try to tell you guys who he was, instead of you guys just having learned on your own. There won't ever be another Nathan Jackson. The things I wish I could have done, he was willing, able, and capable. And he never got the chance. A year ago now, it wasn't chaos thinking, it was black and white. And I was thinking the way that my brother taught me to think. One of the ways he saved me from myself, from something that I have. A way that's not really conventional for the way that I am, but there's something else that interferes. He taught me how to handle it. It's why I've always been good in crisis. And everything he taught me I used about right now, a year ago, planning my own brother's funeral. There is somebody that you guys should have known, and you'll never meet. And I'd trade places in a heartbeat, and I can't. So this is the best I can do. Best I can do is try to be a really poor substitute for what my brother could have accomplished very easily. All I wanted to do was help people. And I kind of relied on him a lot to get me there to help people. And now that's on me.
I'm glad that I see so many different people. So many people that I don't know so well, some people that I know all my life, some people that I don't know at all. Nathan had so many aspects about his life and was so spread out towards so many people, so open, that I wouldn't expect anything less. And I'm glad to see a lot of you wearing your Superman and your Superman blues. It's a strange thing to try to sit down and ponder how to wrap up 31 years of someone's life. I feel like to include every single thing, it would take 31 years itself, and by the time that I finished rambling, I would have thought of plenty more things that I left out. And I tried many different ways to get my thoughts down in a cohesive manner. But as per the usual, it was Nathan who told me how to do it. On his computer, he left some inspirational quotes for me to find from different writers. One of them was from John Steinbeck, the author of things like Grapes of Wrath, of Mice and Men. And the quote said, "If you're using dialogue, say it aloud as you write it. Only then will it have the sound of speech." And so that's what I did. But let me preface all this nice stuff I'm about to say by also saying that he isn't an infallible saint. I know. I mean, at least, I'm ballpark, at least 90% of what I told my mom he did to me, he actually did. So, I know he wasn't perfect. The other 10% is just statistical error. Nathan's pretty critical of the world in general. And toward the whole world, he never accepted anything at face value. If you're going to tell him any sort of thing that sounded kind of like a fact, and you started that statement with, they say, you better know who they are and be able to know the format in which they said it. And you really shouldn't be surprised to learn that Nathan already knows that. And you really, really shouldn't be surprised that he's going to expound upon what little factoid you gave him with heapings of research and counterbalancing facts. Most likely, you'd be the one who walked away having learned something from a living encyclopedia like Nathan. And toward people, Nathan's always the first one to call you out on something stupid that you just did. He has a nice way with words, the English creative writing minor. And by nice way with words, I mean he was blunt, direct, and unashamed in his criticism of the stupid stuff you just did. With that said, he's also the first one to lend his support, his wisdom, and to extend a helping hand to make it better. He's always first to try to comfort you while letting you know that your very, very stupid mistake doesn't make you any less of a person for the most part. And everyone's already been talking about his laugh, his booming laugh. It's one that could shake walls and force you to smile. By now, you should know, from knowing him or knowing everyone around him, that he's the smartest person you know right now. And if you didn't know that, now you do. You're welcome. That intellect spilled over into his creative writing, and he had so many things he was working on. He had so many different things he wanted to get on paper. There's so many notes and snippets of his mind down where he's just trying to get an idea onto paper because there are so many in his mind, and getting it down helped free up some space. In questioning everything, it came through in his writing. One of the books that John Green was talking to him about was one called Fractals. He had an idea of writing a book that this physicist who was conducting a fairly standard experiment and who was struggling with spirituality and religion discovered building blocks of the whole material world which might support the existence of the soul, afterlife, and God. Those building blocks, called omniparticles, made everything and increased complexity with those complex formations called fractal structures. And almost like a part of his mind of struggling with the same topics, he was concluding in his book that if the smallest fractal particle existed, then the largest must also exist. And what else could that structure be defined as but by God? It's just an interesting way of trying to put together his own morals and spirituality, always questioning, always somehow figuring out some kind of answer. You might have heard by now Nathan was obsessed with Superman. I don't know if you got the memo. We tried to get it to everyone. Everywhere was Superman plastered downstairs. Online, his online name to people like Spoonie, the guy with the glasses, some of the people that he was talking to online, it was OCD Superman, which says it a bit better. But to other people, he, at some point, was their Superman. Nathan was willing to go to hell and back to help the people he cared about. But to me, as my brother, we argued and we bickered like normal siblings, and as we grew up, we realized we were a bit different than normal siblings. He was my first friend, and that was by circumstance, but I've known him since the day I was born, so I didn't quite have a choice on that. But even as kids, he became my best friend by choice. He's the only one that can keep up with my racing mind. Thank you for breathing in sync with me. He can counter the chaos that's always in my head and make sense of it for me. He always said I was the smarter one, but we were just two sides of the same coin. I could look at the facts subjectively, and Nathan looked at that as thinking outside the box, something he struggled with. But his objective mind grounded me. It gave me a platform from which to stand and to start. Neither of us was smarter than the other. We were just each other's foil. The one who could spot the hubris and shortcomings in the other one, try to correct them. And he's always been my protector. There was one time I got beat up as a little kid at the school bus stop. Nathan wasn't very happy that he wasn't there to protect me. So instead he went and found the boys that did it, and got ahead of them, climbed a tree, and jumped them as they passed by, screaming bonsai and planting his feet in their back. And, I was a pacifist, but that didn't mean I was scared to protect him when I could. And one of my happiest moments came in high school. We were walking home with a group of friends, and Nathan was reminiscing about the past, about things that had happened, about times that we had had to possibly protect ourselves, have each other's back. And his friend Chris questioned how often he had to actually come to my defense instead of vice versa, and asked how I could have ever protected him. Nathan stopped him dead in his tracks and said, "I trust no one else more to save my back or protect me than Stephen. He's the strongest person I know." I don't think you really ever knew how much that meant to me, because he was the strongest person I knew. Excuse me, page flip. I swear I'm wrapping it up. Guys, cozy? Do you need water? He protected me. For every scar I took, and I have, but to be fair, half caused by him, he took tenfold to shield me from this world. And he was never harder on himself than when he failed to protect me. He was trying to get better for my son, Rowan. That's going to be a tough order to tell Rowan about his unka. To try to fill in all of those gaps. I'm going to leave it to Kevin to be the best bad influence on him. The best kind of bad influence. Because that's what Nathan wanted to be for Rowan. And I'll, for him, do my best to make sure Rowan carries on the obsession with Superman. I think instead of Rowan having to sneak off to get his first Superman tattoo at 16, like Nathan did, Kevin and I will join him. Make a bit of a celebration out of it. Maybe her. As long as it's a short car ride, I'm not dealing with that crap. I have limits. Like, I gotta put a boundary somewhere. We'll find a place within 5 minutes. You can come when it's halfway finished. Nathan and I have unfinished work. It's one of the hardest parts. We're talking about doing so many things. I'm starting new things. My face is getting known in different places, and he was supposed to be joining me. Kevin and I are talking about podcasts, and he was supposed to be that go-to guy that knew everything. When we're debating a subject, the unbiased one that was going to show up and state the facts so that we couldn't screw him up. I'm trying to figure out how to put those pieces together of everything without him. And I'm starting to learn that there's no such thing as convenient death. There's always going to be things left unfinished. To honor him, to honor anyone else that passes, It's going to always be up to those that survive to finish it, to carry it on, see it to completion. Nathan was the better of us too. I might have had a bright mind, but I was always held back from doing some of the things I wanted to help other people. My own insecurities, not being able to separate work and home. Had to stop going down the track of being a counselor because I'm not ready for it. I'm not ready to talk to people and then try to act like everything's okay when I come home. I'd bring it home with me. Nathan could do what I couldn't. He wanted to help people too. And he could jump into the deep end of the pool and swim for shallow water only if necessary. Could have helped so many people. I'd trade places with him in a heartbeat. Not survivor's guilt. Not some other mourning type of phase or dealing with death. It's not that. I wish we could trade places even if it meant he was up here speaking about me instead. So the world could have benefited from him. He didn't deserve the hand that he was dealt. And it kept all of that bottled up in a basement instead of shared with others. And the tragedy is that you guys are the ones that are here. And you're listening and you know him. And that's fine and I'm grateful, but the biggest tragedy is the world doesn't even know what it just lost. I need to ask everyone here to help comfort my mom and dad. My mom took so much time taking care of them that I need you guys to help me out. There's gonna be a little less to do around the house without him there. But I need you guys, really importantly, to remind Rick of what he meant to him. Nathan had some issues growing up too. He had anger issues, he had things he was dealing with. He had things he had to try to get over and he needed to channel it. He needed to find a way to express it, and even though he's way, way too much like my mom, Rick was his example of how to look at life adversity, growing up, to look at things going wrong. Rick was the one that showed him how you could be better than that, do better than that. Nathan might have been our Superman, but Rick was Nathan's Superman. Please remind Rick of that every now and then, because his dumbass seems to forget all the time. That's, luckily for you guys, all I wrote down. That's all I have. I couldn't keep going. I wouldn't have stopped. There's just not a limit to what I could say about him. Thank you guys so much for being here, for being here for my family. Thank you for being in Nathan's life.